Hello YouTube, we are back and today we're bringing you a patch 6.6 Season 6 League of Legends guide and we are covering Azir, Emperor of the Sands.
I will open their eyes.
If you wish to view more of our guides, you can of course browse through our YouTube channel or go to our website, which is www.egamingtv.com. You can of course also follow us on Twitter at egaming_TV. We do lots of skin giveaways and they're all on Twitter, so make sure you guys head over there and you send us a follow. If you guys do enjoy this video, please also like and subscribe as we do have tons and tons of League of Legends content coming out in the near future. Alright, so let's hop right into Azir's pros and cons, starting with his first pro, which is he has long range. So his base auto attack range is only 525, which isn't that exceptional, but when you do combo this with your soldiers, you can have a really long range. Your soldiers will attack people as long as you are within 800 range of them, plus they have their own range as well, so they actually have a very significant range. You can use your soldiers to last hit and harass people from a very long range where they actually can't even trade damage back onto you. Another pro Azir does have is he's a very strong late game carry. With a full item build and all of the AoE he does have in his kit, he's able to dispose of entire teams if they are somewhat clumped. He is rather item dependent, so he's not that strong early on, but when he does reach the late game, he is a very hard thing to deal with. So not only does he have tons of damage, but he's also got great mobility in his kit as well. Azir's E allows him to dash onto one of his soldiers, which makes him a very hard target to stay on top of. If he's roaming the map looking for kills as well, he can push his soldiers into somebody and E on top of them, gaining a shield and closing a massive gap as well. He doesn't have as much mobility as, say, like obviously a mid TF or Pantheon or something, but his mobility in fights is actually pretty nice. Because of the mobility he does have in team fights, we are able to go for a relatively high damage build since we don't have to get insanely tanky. On top of all the damage he does late game and the mobility he has as well, he's also even got great CC, which is why he's so strong in mid. This pretty much just comes from his ultimate, but his ultimate is amazing. He's able to push multiple enemies back with his wall and block their movement through the wall as well. This is exceptional, especially when you do knock them against the wall and they can't really move that well. It really fucks people over. His last two pros is that he's a great farmer and pusher. When you drop both of your soldiers in a minion wave, they're able to clean it up really quickly. They do tons of damage, and they do an AoE line basically, so they do clear out multiple minions at the same time. This makes Azir insanely easy to farm on, and it can push minion waves really fast for when people do roam out of mid. You can instantly abuse that by taking their tower. Oh, and then your Azir, you can use your passive to take control of the tower. It's pretty great to have in your kit. So Azir's cons start with the fact that he is item dependent. Early on, your damage is kind of crappy and your soldiers don't actually do that much damage since they are, of course, based off of your stats. This means, of course, early on you're not actually doing that much damage, and Azir is pretty squishy early on as well. Until you do get some nice AP and you do have your ultimate, so you do have some nice CC in your kit as well, I would avoid all-inning people because it's rather weak. Due to this and multiple other reasons, Azir is hard to learn and even harder to master. Getting through the earlier stages can be somewhat difficult for Azir, of course depending on which mid laner you are facing, however. Azir is still a pick that can bully the crap out of a lot of mid laners, but there are some really hard matchups for him as well. The biggest reason he's so hard to learn and master though is the fact that he has to use his soldiers. Most champions of course only really have to worry about themselves and their abilities, but Azir always has to worry about where his guys are positioned and if they will be able to hit somebody. He's also got to keep in mind that perhaps he doesn't want to E into a target, he just wants to harass them with a soldier and keep another one so he is able to E away from somebody if he needs to. Azir's also got really weak map presence early on, especially before 6. A lot of the champions that have really good map presence have hard CCs in their kit, but Azir does not have this and it's not even reliable when he is 6. This changes dramatically when you do get a Ryales, since your soldiers are able to pretty much permanently slow people since they do apply the Ryales effect on every single hit. Once you do finally obtain Ryales, your ganks are very effective. Azir's all-ins are also very weak early on. This is mostly due to the fact that he doesn't have a lot of damage early and he doesn't have a hard CC like a lot of other mid laners. Since it is so easy to farm on Azir though, I would usually just farm the lane as much as possible, get my items, and then worry about all-inning and helping people around the map after that. You are very strong in the mid and late game, so just get there, just make it through the early game. For Azir's Masteries, we get 12 Ferocity and 18 Cunning. When we are going through the Masteries, we focus on getting as much damage and sustain as possible. For our Keystone Mastery, we get Thunderlord's Decree since it is by far the best thing to take on Azir. Getting a quick 3 attacks off over and over is very easy to do on Azir, and we can make really great use of the Thunderlord's Decree. For our runes, we take a rather offensive setup, getting 9 greater marks of magic penetration, 9 greater seals of scaling health, 9 greater glyphs of scaling cooldown reduction, and 3 greater quintessences of ability power. In total, this gives us 15 ability power, 7.83 magic penetration, 216 health, and 15% cooldown reduction. And of course, those stats are at level 18. The cooldown reduction is a really strong thing to have on Azir, which is why we take it over the magic resist. The fact that you are able to move your soldiers around more often and use your E to go towards them so you are mobile is a very good thing to have on Azir, and it does increase your defensive capabilities. Since we didn't get the magic resist though, we do take the health, so we do have at least some tanky stats against an AP mid laner. Of course, the magic penetration and ability power we get from these runes makes us do as much damage as possible, so we are actually putting out some nice damage. For Azir's summoners, we take Flash and Heal. Flash is great because it has a lot of defensive and offensive uses. This can allow you to escape from champions or can be used to chase opponents if needed. Heal is a very great defensive pickup for Azir. Since Azir has a decent range, he usually won't even be in the range to use Ignite to finish off his opponents anyways. Since we don't need Ignite, Heal is therefore his best summoner. If against a quick all-in champion such as Talon, Exhaust, or even Barrier would be better pickup. However, against the generic mid laner, I would always take Heal. So now we're going to look at each of his abilities, starting with his passive, which is called Shurima's Legacy. Now this passive is a little weird in the fact that it doesn't always affect you like most passives in the game. This is just one that actually has a very long cooldown. This passive can be pretty strong though. When you guys are sieging, you will have a tower to fall back onto if they do actually engage onto your team. So very basically, this is just a tower that you can put on top of a dead tower every 180 seconds, and this is a static cooldown, so it doesn't actually go down with your cooldown reduction. The gold that the tower does earn is transferred to Azir, so it is really nice. It's not a bunch of wasted gold, so it is great in that sense. If you are backing to base, but you do want to keep a lane pushed, you can drop a tower in back, so it will fight and push the lane for you, assuming, of course, they are near the tower. Other than that, there's not a whole lot to say about this passive. It is great because you can zone people away from areas with a tower. They will be afraid to actually push onto it, so other than that, there's not much to it. So next is Azir's Q, which is called Conquering Sands. So basically this is the ability he uses to move his soldiers around so they are in range of targets so they can actually attack. It's also nice because as long as one soldier does hit the target you're moving them towards, it'll do between 65 and 145 base based on the level, plus 50% of your AP as well. The first soldier that hits them also slows them by 25%, and if a second one hits them as well, they don't take extra damage, but they are slowed by 50%. The slow isn't a huge deal later on since we do get a Rylai's, which pretty much does the same slow anyways as long as the soldiers hit, so that's not the best part of the ability. The reason we max this one first is because of all the damage it deals, and the cooldown goes down every time we level it. It's also extremely important to be able to move our soldiers around as much as possible so they will be in the range to attack our targets. So now we land at our W, which is called Arise, and it actually makes these soldiers. The passive part of this ability just states that it does have a stock system and we can have 2 soldiers up at one time. Another really great part of the ability is that we do get bonus attack speed, which is between 20 and 60% based on the level. When he does activate this ability, very simply, he summons one of these sand soldiers. They do last 9 seconds, but they do expire twice as fast when they are in range of an enemy turret, or instantly if he does walk away from them. When he attacks somebody in the range of a soldier, they all attack that target as well, assuming that the soldier's AoE range is within that target as well. Multiple soldiers can hit the same target, however, each soldier beyond the first deals 25% of the damage. And of course, Azir only actually commands these soldiers when he is near them. Now, these soldiers cannot actually attack enemy structures, but he can summon them on top of them to do a bunch of damage as well. This can actually be really nice for when you are actually pushing down towers. They actually do nice little chunks of damage to them, and he can actually bring them down rather quickly. The cooldown of this ability is only 1.5 seconds, but it does have a recharge time of 8 seconds at max rank. You do have to keep this in mind. If you are wanting to use a soldier as an escape, you may not actually have one in stock, so you do actually have to keep track of your stock system. It's very important. Since the recharge time does go down with level and we do gain 10% more attack speed every time we level this, we take it second as it is very nice behind our Q. So now we land on our last basic ability, which is our E and is called Shifting Sands. This is the ability in our kit which actually gives us a bit of mobility. Very simply put, when we do activate this ability, we jump to one of our sand soldiers. We can use this as an escape or an engage tool, as we can use it to close a gap on a target or of course create a gap. It is really nice for engaging, as enemies we do pass through take a bunch of magic damage, which is between 60 and 180 plus 40% AP, and we even gain a shield. The shield strength is between 80 and 240 plus 15% bonus health. Now although we do gain a lot of things from leveling this ability, we do have to max it last, as it is still our worst basic ability, as strong as it is. We take one early point in it at level 3 just so we are able to either escape or engage onto an enemy. Other than that, it's not that big of an issue that we do not level it. Now we land at our ultimate, which is called Emperor's Divide. When activated, Azir calls forth a shield wall of soldiers from behind him which charge in the target direction, and the wall duration is between 5 and 7 seconds, and the width is between 4 and 6 soldiers. When the soldiers finish their charge, they stand as a wall, blocking enemy champion movement and dashes. These soldiers cannot be ordered to move and attack, however. They just kind of stand there and hang out. Impacted enemies by the charge are dealt magic damage and knocked back. Allies and Azir can pass through the wall and gain 20% bonus movement speed when they do. The magic damage is between 150 and 300 plus 60% AP, so it actually can do a nice chunk of damage to multiple targets, assuming you can get this wall off. The range is 250, the cost is 100 mana, and the cooldown goes from 140 to 100 seconds. So this is basically the ability in Azir's kit, which brings a lot of teamfight utility. Being able to knock people away from your carries and zone them out is a very, very amazing thing to have on a mid laner. I almost always use this ability to help peel for my AD carry and do a bunch of damage to a target that is trying to kill him. If you position the wall correctly, they're not able to really re-engage onto your enemy champion, and they can't even dash through it. When you do zone for him with this ultimate, it can allow your AD carry to get a ton of damage off that they would usually not be able to get off. You can of course use this very offensively as well to try and delete targets, but I do generally like to use it to protect my AD carry. If your AD carry is somewhat useless, then of course, fuck him, use it offensively. Alright, so with each of the abilities covered, we're going to look at his ability order. The first in priority is of course his ultimate, which is called Emperor's Divide. You take it at 6, 11, and 16. Next up is his Q, which is called Conquering Sands. We take it at 2, 4, 5, 7, and 9. We max this first for the damage it does and the ability to move his soldiers around more often. Next up is his W, which is called Arise. We take it at level 1 because we don't have a choice. You can't do anything unless you can summon soldiers. So we take it at 8, 10, 12, and 13 as well. The main reason we max this second is for the attack speed we get and the ability to summon our soldiers more often as the recharge time goes down. Lastly is our E, which is called Shifting Sands. We take one early level in it at level 3 so we can actually move towards our soldiers, and then we get it at 14, 15, 17, and 18 as well. Although the damage we get when we do land on a champion and the shield we get are both awesome, we do have to max this one last. Azir's item build, like most AP mid laners, starts with a Doran's Ring, 2 health potions, and a warding totem. When we are against a strong AD mid laner, we will want to take the Seeker's Arm Guard first, followed by a Nashor's Tooth and some boots. Getting the Seeker's Arm Guard really early on gets the passive stacking, so we get as much armor and ability power as possible. This also really shuts down AD harassment, as the armor is actually relatively high for an item so early on. If we're against a generic AP mid laner, we can go for a normal game, get the Nashor's Tooth, a Rylai's, and some Sorceress Boots. The Nashor should be grabbed as early as possible every game. It gives some much needed cooldown reduction and a ton of magic damage on hit. With both the attack speed you get from this item and the passive part of your W, you can actually attack very often and get off a ton of these passive attacks. Next up, in all cases as well, would be a Rylai's. This also has great synergy with his kit. Every time your soldier attacks a target, they do get the passive slow from the Rylai's. This means you're basically going to have stuff permanently slowed, assuming they are getting attacked by your soldiers. This is really, really strong. I almost always get Sorceress Boots on Azir since we're almost already at the cooldown reduction cap, and it can increase our damage a lot just by getting through any magic resist. Our full build would be a Nashora's Tooth, followed by the Rylai's, and Sorceress Boots. We then move into Rabadon's Death Cap, so we can do a lot of AP damage on targets and instantly delete them. To get through any magic resist opponents may have at this point in the game, we then get a Void Staff so we can get through it. Our last item is a defensive pickup in the Zonias. It's very nice for the activated ability, so you can't be targeted. The Zonias is very interchangeable with the Void Staff if your enemies don't actually have much magic resist. There's no point getting the Void Staff if they don't have any magic resist yet. One alternative I do see on the Azir players sometimes is the Rod of Ages. I am against this item personally, but a lot of people do like it, so I have listed it of course as one of the alternatives. I don't feel that this item is bad in any way, but I do prefer getting the Nashors as early as possible, and the Rod of Ages would have to come before the Nashors. A great alternative as well would be Luden's Echo if you are looking for a bit more mobility so you can roam around the map. It also adds a nice chunk of burst, so it is great if you are trying to delete targets. Lastly, if you are against a very high AP team and you do need some magic resist, you can always get an Abyssal Scepter. This of course gives you 70 magic resist, which is really nice, but it also gives you basically some magic pen as people do lose magic resist near you, so you actually do some nice added damage. So that pretty much covers it for our Azir guide. I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and if you guys did enjoy the video, please like and subscribe as we'll have lots and lots more League of Legends content coming out in the future. I'm also thinking about making a series where we do cover patch notes whenever they are released, so let me know in the comments if you guys do think that would be something helpful. For more of our guides, you can go to www.egamingtv.com like always to view a nice little list of our guides. Also, if you guys do want to talk to us on Twitter, you can do so at egaming_TV. When we do skin giveaways, we always do them on Twitter, so make sure if you guys do have Twitter that you guys do go over there and send us a follow. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you guys around YouTube, Twitter, and our website.